Hi there. Hi everyone. How are you today? Kelsie Michaud here, certified health and life coach. And today we're talking about intuitive eating as a trend and some assumptions around it. So if you're here, please say hello so I can say hi back. And if you catch the replay, hashtag replay, so I know you're here because I would love to say hello to you. So let's dive right in. So intuitive eating, it really encourages people to eat whatever they want. So when I first heard about intuitive eating, it was like this switch went off in my head. And up to that point, I had been dieting and restricting for really longer than I can even remember. But I was counting calories, I was counting, actually not counting carbs, but I was avoiding carbs. I was weighing my food all the time, worrying about that number on the scale. And all of that makes for, an emotionally miserable person, to be honest. So intuitive eating has changed both how I coach my clients and how I look at myself as well. I had been just constantly weighing and taking pictures, trying to hit goals that were just disconnected from how I actually felt. So it was really hard for me to realize that, I had been so harsh to my own body. And this is because, in my mind, I thought I was doing all of this for my health. Hi, Patty, how are you? So now I completely, I pay attention to all of my physical feelings, those physical feelings of hunger. And I've completely lost all that guilt around eating a favorite food, which is really nice and really freeing, really. And I took the time and I actually worked on my relationship with food without having to worry about my weight, while being able to just, reject that diet mentality, all that diet culture and the ideas around it. So now I actually like myself, and there's so many of us that are tired of that shame and the fear around food and around that failure, because the odds are, you're probably not going to keep it off for long term. So there's all this stigma around it and all this pressure too around weight loss and dieting and the whole diet culture. So don't you think that there's got to be a better way than that, right? So rather than continue to just keep struggling, by not making weight your sole priority and then focusing on your own well-being, that's what has just such a profound beneficial effects for us on our health, just that alone. Okay, so there's actually the assumption that people who fail to lose weight, well, they'll gain it back, and that's just because they're lazy, or maybe they're not educated enough to make good choices. No, that's not right. But somehow there's this assumption around it. And while that cycle of weight loss and weight gain is, it's certainly unhealthy on its own, the emotional shame that is attached to it is what causes the damage. So, I know that intuitive eating can sound like it's just permission to sit on your couch and eat whatever the heck you want. Eat some pizza until you pass out. And different foods, they certainly have different nutritional benefits, which is exactly why, we tell kids to eat their vegetables, right? Hi, Jenny, how are you? So with intuitive eating, as a coach, I'm helping people who have struggled with eating to understand how food makes their body feel after we've just really untangled it from the stress and the shame that they're feeling. So it isn't uncommon, if you're new to intuitive eating, to sometimes binge on the things that you've always tried to skip or always tried to pass because you thought that they were not something that you should be eating, or you labeled them as bad. So believe me, my clients, myself included, start to crave more of a variety of nutrition, more nutritious foods, especially a lot of those healthier options. I mean, I crave fruits and vegetables all the time, just because that's just what my body wants. It's what I'm listening to my body, and that's what it's telling me it wants. So that's what I'm going to give it. So the thing of it now is that you can have pizza whenever you want. You can have ice cream whenever you want. Whatever it is that you really enjoy, you can have it whenever you want. if it feels less important to eat it until you're uncomfortable, that's what makes the difference. So telling yourself that you can't have something gives it that power. Food should never have power. You should have the power. You have the power to make the choices. And, so telling yourself you can't have it gives food that power. We want to take that power back. We want to take that power away from the food. So, I didn't understand that, like, these binges that I was creating were actually created from restriction. And if you saw me eat on the weekend, you would have thought I was like a rabid animal or something, because in the past, actually, I have some research for you, it has actually indicated that American women specifically internalize the importance of restricting food, and like from the age of 5, like from a very, very young age, okay? And it makes it almost impossible to test how people would act toward food if they weren't really like hung up on it by this dieting culture. All right, so when you have permission to just eat and the food still tastes good, but you're removing that urgency for it, okay? So a lot of us could actually benefit from this new way of looking at food. So according to a study that was, not a study, but a survey that was conducted in 2008, 75% of American women participated in some kind of disordered eating behavior, even if their problems aren't severe enough to constitute a clinical diagnosis of an eating disorder. So you can learn a lot. You can learn like all of these intuitive eating principles. Hi Angela, how are you? Thanks for coming on. You can learn all of these intuitive eating principles, and you can learn like everything that they do for you, and you can actually, it takes time to practice them, but they're like, with them, there's no meal plans. There's no nutritional shakes. There's no like branded food storage systems you have to put together. There's no frozen dinners, that you have to look for in your grocery store. So it takes so much pressure off of just that whole, that whole being surrounded by that whole dieting culture and all those thoughts that are going around in your head. So it's so important to remember that it all depends on like where you are now, like where you are already in your relationship to your own, like to your body's own natural weight. And that might or might not match up with like a healthy weight that you think that you should be at, but your body will find its natural weight when you eat intuitively. So studies have actually found that intuitive eating, they found it to be less effective for very short-term weight loss rather than like the traditional restrictive diets, but research has also found that it can actually improve your body image, okay? So it helps us to just think better of ourselves over time. Hi Tony, how are you? Thanks for coming on. So, as it helps us to actually, have a better mindset about ourselves, because it's not just about the food we're putting in our body, it's a whole mind-body connection that we're creating through all of the 10 intuitive eating principles, okay? So that pressure to diet can just wear you down, right? It can get just to be too much, too stressful. It can get to be frustrating and annoying. I mean, who wants to keep counting calories or counting macros or weighing all of your food? That's no fun, and it takes a lot of time, and you have to put a lot of effort into that. And wouldn't it be so much nicer if you could just eat when your body's telling you you need to eat? Simple, right? I think we make it a lot more difficult than we need to. So, with that, like, it's not surprising that some people will actually start to look for a new way. They don't want to diet anymore. They say, I'm done, I've had it. But then they start over again, on Monday morning, and then they go through that same cycle again. It's that crazy, vicious cycle. And when you stop it, you really want it to stop for good. And that's why intuitive eating can help get you into a place where you feel so much freer. And we were all born intuitive eaters. And I have to tell you, I love watching my daughter eat. She's almost 4. She always tells me when she's full. And I love that. She's recognizing that signal that her body is telling her. A lot of us don't do that anymore. We override it or we ignore it, and we just keep on going. And then you get to a point where you're uncomfortable. And that's, then the shame and the guilt comes in, and then there's that vicious cycle again. We don't want to be in that cycle. We want to eat to a point to where we feel good, we feel nourished, we feel satisfied and satiated, and then mentally you feel good as well. So it's that mind-body connection where you just feel good overall. So if you'd like to learn, more about intuitive eating, or just dive a little bit deeper to uncover those emotional layers that are actually causing you to just, emotionally eat sometimes, and we can go to just dive really deep and get to the bottom of where it's all beginning, where it all started, and we can just pull out everything that needs to come out for you that you have been just probably holding off for so long and just pushing back because you don't want to deal with it, because a lot of times we don't want to feel our emotions, and if it's something painful, we're going to keep pushing it away. And then when we want to feel better, we want to be comforted, and a lot of times that's in the form of food. Well, I can help show you how you can go from, dealing with these emotions, where we can dive really deep into them, and you can release them and be free of them to the point to where you're not feeling like you have to turn to food every time you're feeling some negative emotion. So if you'd like to discover what it's like to live, without dieting, without deprivation, and of course, most importantly, to be free of the emotions that are weighing you down, then please reach out. You can PM me, you can drop something in the comments, whatever works for you. And if you have any questions at all about the content I cover, just about intuitive eating in general, or your own personal health and weight goals, feel free to reach out as well. So I hope you all have a very beautiful day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.